Tonight, on the Dreamy Physicist, we wander gently into the hush of time itself, following the quiet arrow that guides all things forward, from stars that fade to memories that soften, to you, resting now beneath the quilt of thought. Hi there. I'm so glad you're here. You've done enough today. Let's leave the noise behind. Let's drift slowly into the great unfolding of entropy and the reason time never turns back. Time touches everything, yet leaves nothing behind. You cannot catch it, cannot fold it into your hands. It spills forward, quietly, relentlessly, like a river that forgot how to turn around. You lie there now, still and warm, but inside you, clocks are ticking in your cells. Molecules are colliding, heat is spreading, and memories, they stack themselves neatly behind you, never ahead. Why does time only move forward? Why do things grow old, but never young again? Why does a candle burn down, but never burn upward? This is the arrow of time. And once it points a certain way, it never spins back. Let's begin, not with clocks, but with something softer, with a cup of tea. You make tea in the evening. Steam rises. The warmth spreads to your palms. But wait long enough, and the heat leaves. The tea cools, never heats itself back up, and the warmth you felt now lingers in the air, lost to the room, lost to the walls. This is entropy. Entropy is not a thing. It is a direction. It is the measure of mess, of how order becomes chaos, how differences even out, how the crisp becomes crumbled. Entropy always increases. It is the universe's silent law. A broken plate does not reassemble. Smoke does not return to a candle. A wave does not withdraw and leave a dry shore. And time follows the same path, the arrow that never turns back. You are made of tiny particles, quarks, and electrons, arranged into cells and thoughts, and each one obeys the rules. Each one loses energy, spreads warmth, moves toward disorder. And yet, in this sea of growing mess, you are an island of delicate structure. You breathe, you remember, you hold stories behind your eyes. But why? Because your body fights entropy, not forever, but just long enough to stay alive. You eat, you sleep, you release heat and waste. In doing so, you keep yourself temporarily ordered, at the cost of everything around you becoming just a little more disordered. A soft price for consciousness. Entropy is the reason you grow up, but not down. The reason stars shine and fade, but never reignite in reverse. It is why ice melts, why metal rusts, why dreams drift toward dawn and never back to midnight. The past is where order once lived. The future is where disorder waits. And somewhere in between, you are drifting forward, gently, inevitably, beautifully. Now imagine a library. Every book in its place. Neat, labeled, complete. One gust of wind, and the books scatter. Pages flutter to the floor. You could spend hours putting it all back, but it won't happen on its own. That's entropy too. The natural way of things is not toward neatness, but toward the scattering. So what makes time feel real? Why do you remember yesterday? But not tomorrow, because yesterday is more ordered in your brain's architecture. Memories are stored, wired into neurons. Tomorrow hasn't happened. No traces yet. No structure to recall. The mind, too, follows the arrow. Even thoughts obey entropy. And yet, this rule, this one-way street, was not always so firm. In the earliest moments of the universe, right after the Big Bang, everything was incredibly ordered. A low entropy state, tiny, hot, symmetrical. But as the universe expanded, entropy exploded outward. Space stretched, galaxies spun, chaos began its slow, steady bloom, and time began to matter. Without entropy, there is no difference between before and after. A perfect crystal doesn't age. A balanced equation does not decay. Only when entropy appears does time emerge as a flow. Now, in your room, there's warmth from your skin, light from the lamp, air that hums softly with the breath of the world. All of it is shifting, subtly, toward greater disorder. And yet you feel calm. Because entropy isn't destruction, it's motion. It's the gentle tide that moves all things along, carrying us with it. Even love has an arrow. It begins, grows, and changes shape, not backward, only forward. Memories of it linger like perfume in empty halls, but never return in full. Even stars follow it. They shine for billions of years, burning their order into radiant heat. And then they cool, collapse, becoming ashes in the vast cosmic field. You too are stardust, and you too follow that flow. There's comfort in it, that everything you touch joins the rhythm, from tea to thought, from warmth to whisper. Entropy doesn't mean ruin. It means change. It means a story unfolding, one page at a time, never backward, always forward. So you lie there, still, but not frozen. Your body continues its dance with time. Your cells continue to breathe heat into the night. And even in rest, you are part of the great drift. And maybe, just maybe, the arrow of time isn't a line, but a spiral. Always moving forward, but circling through patterns you felt before. Like tides, like seasons, like the rhythm of breath in your chest. And if time moves only one way, then why does light, gentle, brilliant light, move so differently? Why is light the one thing that seems to exist outside the river of time? And how is it that light's speed remains unchanged, no matter how fast you run toward it or away? Perhaps, just perhaps, to understand the arrow, we must now follow the beam. There is a hush that blankets the early universe, a soft hum, gentle as sleep, spreading through a space that is still too young to have stars, too calm to have chaos. And yet, deep in that stillness, a quiet rise begins. The rise of disorder, the quiet growth of what will one day be the ticking of time, the cooling of tea, the rusting of iron, the fading of a dream. You close your eyes, and the world doesn't stop. Air molecules swirl near your cheek, tiny atoms colliding, heat drifting upward, everything always moving. always loosening. This is entropy, not a force, not a villain, but a story. A story that starts in silence. Once, everything was packed close, not in chaos, but in perfection. A hot, smooth soup of energy and simplicity. No galaxies, no wind, no thoughts. The universe began in low entropy, perfectly even, perfectly full. And in that stillness, disorder had nowhere to hide, no cracks to fill, no pockets to tumble into. But time passed, and space stretched, and like threads being pulled from a tightly wound spool, energy began to unravel. Tiny wrinkles appeared, a little more heat here, a little less there. The balance broke, just slightly, and entropy saw its chance. It entered like a whisper, not a scream. It didn't crash in, it drifted through soft unevenness, through chance. Imagine a room, all air pressed to one side, perfect, unnatural. Then someone opens a door, and the air spreads, smooths, settles into disorder, beautiful, complete. That's what the early universe did, from perfect compression to spacious expansion, from smooth light to the glow of galaxies. Not because something broke, but because something freed. Entropy rose, not in violence, but in opportunity, a natural lean toward more ways to be messy than to be neat. Think of a deck of cards, all in order, aces to kings. A single shuffle creates disorder, another makes it worse, and yet another almost never returns it to form. There are more ways for things to be scattered than there are to be aligned. And so, the universe shuffled itself with each second that passed. Each star born was heat escaping. Each black hole was structure collapsing. Each planet cooled. Each atom found new ways to drift, to spread, to forget. You are made of this quiet forgetting. Your body, an orchestra of order, but only briefly. You eat to fight entropy. You breathe to delay the spread. And your thoughts, they sparkle against the tide, flickering patterns in a sea that wants only to dissolve them. Entropy is not cruel. It does not hunt. It simply exists as a probability. The more time passes, the more likely the dice roll toward disorder. And still, life happens. Flowers bloom against the odds. Babies form from scattered molecules. Snowflakes fall in perfect symmetry. How? Because local order can grow so long as somewhere else disorder increases faster. Your brain, so wondrously arranged, builds memories while your body radiates heat into the room. A candle burns with purpose, but in burning adds chaos to the air. The price of order is paid in invisible ink. Even your dreams have thermodynamic footprints. But what, you might ask, stops entropy from ever falling? Couldn't the universe have a bad shuffle and one day end up neat again? In theory, yes, but the odds are so absurdly small that you'd have to wait longer than the lifetime of all stars combined just to see a single teacup unspill itself. And so the rise continues. Quiet, certain. Entropy doesn't race, it strolls. Like water gently eroding stone, like footsteps fading in snow. In physics, this creeping climb gives time its direction. A one-way door, an asymmetry in the mirror of existence. And what of you? You live in the middle, not at the start, where things were calm, nor at the end, where things will be cold. You are here, where entropy sings, but does not yet scream, where stars still burn, where thoughts still form, where stories can still be told. Entropy makes the past feel knowable. It's why memories are carved in deeper grooves than guesses of tomorrow. It's why you remember holding a hand, but cannot yet know who might hold it next. We are creatures of the middle entropy, not frozen, not chaotic, balanced in a brief golden hour. And this middle gives rise to time's most gentle illusions. Growth, change, loss, longing. Entropy paints those colors. And yet, with all this quiet rise, one mystery remains. Why did the universe start so low in entropy at all? Why was it born so neat, so smooth, so full of structure, waiting to fall apart? Was it a cosmic accident, a design, a boundary condition, a memory from something before? We do not know, but we feel it. This hush of becoming, this leaning toward scatter, this strange truth that everything you hold slips eventually between your fingers. And still you hold, still you build, still you name stars and hum lullabies and tuck warmth into the corners of cooling rooms. The quiet rise of disorder cannot be stopped, but it can be witnessed with awe. And in witnessing, perhaps we slow time just a little, not in physics, but in meaning. And now, as you rest and your body gives up its heat to the night, you wonder if entropy grows and order fades. What is memory made of? And how does the past stay stitched together when all else falls apart? There is a rule, soft as breath, firm as gravity. It does not shout, does not punish, yet it governs all things with quiet finality. The second law of thermodynamics. You followed its whispers your entire life, even without knowing. Each melting snowflake, each crumpled paper, each sigh that leaves your lips and doesn't return, they all obey it. This law says entropy must rise. It does not ask for permission. It does not bargain. It simply is a one-way flow, a quiet march from order to disorder, from structure to scatter. But it is gentle, so gentle you almost don't notice what you're losing until it's gone. Imagine a sandcastle built with care, each tower pressed by tiny fingers, each moat carved with dreaming hands. And then the tide comes in, not in anger, just in rhythm. Wave by wave, the shape dissolves, not all at once, but certainly. The second law is that tide. It does not seek to destroy. It simply prefers the many ways a castle can fall over the few ways it can stand. It leans toward probability. There are more ways for molecules to scatter than to sit in rows. More ways for a room to be messy than pristine. More ways for a heart to break than to remain unshaken. And so, the law favors disorder, not maliciously, but statistically. You feel it every time your coffee cools, every time you rewind a memory but cannot relive it, every time you wish for once more and find only echoes. This is the tyranny, not cruel, but unstoppable, a soft force that unweaves. The second law doesn't just govern heat, it governs time itself. Because time, you see, is not measured by clocks. It's measured by change. And entropy is change's compass, a direction written in the unraveling. This is why you can't uncrack an egg, why broken glass won't leap back into your hand, why childhood doesn't return once it's past. The arrow of time points forward because entropy does. We age because of it. We forget because of it. We say goodbye because of it. And yet, we live. Even in a world that leans toward scatter, we build. We sing. We fall in love, knowing it might end. We write books on vanishing paper. We light candles, even when we know they burn down. That, too, is part of the second law's paradox. Within its soft tyranny lies the spark of everything beautiful. A baby's first breath requires warmth. Warmth means heat. Heat means energy, escaping into a colder place. A tree grows tall by capturing light, but in doing so, it radiates far more energy into the world than it keeps. Life fights entropy, but it pays the toll. Always, always. Your heartbeat is a momentary miracle against the tide. But even that rhythm echoes into the stillness. One day, this doesn't mean life is meaningless. It means it is rare, delicate, a candle flickering in a universe of wind. And what a candle it is. The second law might seem like an ending, but it also allows beginnings. Stars form from collapsing clouds, entropy rising as gravity gathers. Galaxies swirl from asymmetry, order forming locally while the whole stretches thin. Your thoughts, the electricity in your mind, exist because of tiny imbalances, because heat flows and signals spark and order lives just briefly before fading. Every poem is entropy spent to carve meaning. Every embrace is a stand against scatter. The second law doesn't forbid beauty. It gives it context. Without entropy, nothing would move. No reactions, no weather, no stars, no breath. Imagine a universe at maximum order, frozen. Still, nothing to melt, nothing to burn, no contrast between here and there, no time at all. So entropy, increasing though it is, makes time flow, and time makes stories, including yours. You are a sequence of temporary balances, heat held, then lost, energy borrowed, then returned. Even your memories are low entropy states, easily smudged, but held tight because they matter. And meaning, though not a scientific quantity, is your answer to the law's quiet pressure. You do not stop entropy, but you shape it for a while. You build warmth from cold. You create order in the spaces you love. Your room, your words, your rituals. They are not in defiance of the law. They are your gentle conversation with it. So sleep tonight, knowing this. You are not failing by changing, not broken because you forget. You are part of a larger unfolding, one that began at the dawn of space and whispered in every atom. And still, you get to choose how your part sings. Some ask, will the second law have the last word? Will the universe end in heat death, a flat, silent plane of nothing more to change? Perhaps. But even that would be the final line in a story whose middle was full of music. And before that faraway silence, there is still time. Time for thought. Time for wonder. Time to ask how something so orderly could ever have begun in the first place. Why? If entropy always rises, did the universe begin so low? And what kind of spark lit the very first imbalance that set time flowing? It began with a breathless imbalance. A spark, not of fire, but of asymmetry. One side just slightly heavier than the other. One curve just slightly more curled. And from that lean cascade, the universe unfolded, not in silence, but in release, all at once. Energy spilled outward. Space bloomed. Time began. The moment we now call the Big Bang. But it was not an explosion in space. It was an explosion of space. Everywhere. All at once. Every particle, every photon, every trembling law unfurled into motion, like dominoes tipped by the faintest tilt. And from that single moment, the universe was handed a one-way ticket. Forward. Always forward. That ticket's name was entropy, the measure of disorder, of how many ways something can be. And at the beginning, there were so few. You might imagine the newborn universe as hot and chaotic, but it was, strangely, incredibly ordered. Energy was everywhere, yes, but spread almost perfectly, uniform. No galaxies, no clumps, no whispers of planets or people, just a sea of glowing potential, balanced so precisely it could barely stand. But balance, ironically, is unstable. Imagine a pencil standing on its point, perfect for a heartbeat until it tips. That tipping was the start of entropy's climb. Tiny differences grew, gravity tugged on denser spots just a little more, and that little became everything. Matter pooled, light bent, stars were born in great burning nests. Galaxies spun like pinwheels. Darkness carved places for silence. Each change made the universe more complex, but also more scattered. Heat flowed outward. Structures formed and then began to break. This direction was not optional. It was written in the very rules of thermodynamics. A hot object will cool. A stretched spring will unwind. A moment cannot be unmomented. And so the universe moved forward. Like a song you can only hear once. Like a breath you cannot re-inhale. But why? Why this direction? Why does time have an arrow? Not just because we remember the past and not the future, but because physics only allows a very special start. A low entropy beginning is rare. A universe that begins in order has only one direction to go, toward disorder. That is the one-way ticket. It's not imposed from outside. It's written in the statistics of existence. Think of it like this. There are more ways for your bedroom to be messy than tidy. More ways for a deck of cards to be shuffled than arranged. So the longer you leave the universe to itself, the more likely it becomes messy, not evil, not broken, just likely. That's entropy. The arrow of time is not a force, it's a preference toward probability. And probability leans toward disorder. Yet here you are, a pocket of order inside the swirl. Thinking mind, a beating heart, a structure within the storm. Your life, every heartbeat, every memory is built on energy flowing from one place to another, from warm to cool, from high to low. That flow lets you live, and it only flows in one direction, forward. You cannot reverse the burn of the sun. You cannot pull spilled ink back into its bottle. And so we too move forward, aging, changing, becoming. But here's the wonder. Though the universe is flying on its one-way ticket, you can still build things on the journey. Entropy rises, yes, but patterns still form. You can make a snowflake before it melts, symphony before the strings fray, a memory before it fades. And maybe that is enough. Maybe the beauty is in the building, knowing it cannot last. Even stars, those ancient furnaces, will one day burn out. Even galaxies will drift apart in a slow sigh called heat death. But not yet. Right now, there is still light, still complexity, still contrast. Contrast is life. Without hot and cold, you cannot cook. Without tension and rest, no music plays. Without change, there is no feeling. Entropy gives us a direction, but direction does not mean despair. It means story, a tale with chapters, beginnings, middles, and yes, eventual endings. But aren't those what give the story its shape? The circle never ends, but it also never moves. You are not in a circle. You are in a spiral, traveling outward, forward, with every second. And you are not alone. Everything you love, every planet, every cell, every star rides with you, bound by the same gentle laws. And still, despite entropy's rise, you persist, you organize, You create music, systems, rituals. You make meaning in a universe that does not promise it. That is the secret. The one-way ticket does not define what the journey means. You do. Every firefly flicker, every shared word, every glance held across time. They are not wasted just because they end. They are treasured because they do. So, tonight, as the universe continues its drift, you pause in this quiet moment. You breathe. You remember that motion itself is proof you are here. You are not frozen. You are unfolding, 1 second at a time. And perhaps, just perhaps, the next chapter waits in the strange place where time and space began to bend. You sit quietly now, your breath soft, your thoughts low and slow. Outside, the night folds itself gently over rooftops and branches, as if tucking the universe in. And somewhere in that hush, a question flickers in you, like the last glow in a dying ember. Does a fire remember it once burned? Because even after the flame is gone, even after the wood has turned to ash, something remains. A trace, a signature, a whisper that says, I was once heat, I was once light. This is where we begin tonight, with the quiet memory that lingers after energy moves on. All around you, in every corner of space, things fall apart. Not suddenly, not in loud explosions, but in quiet, invisible surrender. A cup of tea cools, a breeze dies down, a once blazing star becomes a quiet, dark ember. Entropy rises. Entropy, that soft, persistent climb of disorder over order, of spread over stillness, of randomness over structure. It's not destruction. It's not chaos in the dramatic sense. It's simply the universe following its most probable path, the gentle tilting of the scales, from unlikely arrangements to likely ones. You've seen it in the way your coffee grows cold in minutes, but never warms itself again. In the way a sandcastle crumbles, grain by grain, but never leaps back into shape. These are the fingerprints of entropy. Each moment whispers, the past was more ordered, and now the pattern loosens. But something curious lives in that loosening. A trail, a memory. The ash remembers the flame, not in words or pictures, but in the arrangement of its atoms, the way its heat once curled into the sky, the way the air changed around it. A burned log doesn't forget it was wood. It simply wears its history in the crumbled form it now holds. You can think of energy as a traveler, always looking for a wider space to stretch into. When it is packed tight in the flame of a match, in the pressure of a storm, in the heart of a sun, it seeks release. It moves from hot to cold, from tense to loose, from coiled to open. In doing so, it leaves behind a wake, a structure that tells a story. This is what happens when a fire burns. The wood does not simply vanish. Its carbon rearranges, its molecules scatter, its warmth spreads, and the ashes, so light, so gray, they are the map of where the flame once walked. You, too, are filled with fire, not in the dramatic sense, but in the quiet science of your cells. Your body burns food not with flames, but with tiny chemical fires. Each heartbeat is a wave of order, spilling into a sea of heat. Your thoughts are electric pulses, flickering briefly before dissolving into warmth. Even your memories, those soft images you carry, are patterns, written and rewritten in the warm pathways of neurons, flickering and fading through time. But none of that fire is lost. It simply shifts. Each moment you live is a tiny increase in entropy, a gentle release of structured energy into the larger pool of randomness. And yet, you are here, thinking, alive. How? Because even in a universe where entropy always rises, structure still forms, briefly, beautifully. Stars burn for billions of years before fading. Life blooms in the tiniest cracks of the coldest rocks. Snowflakes form in perfect symmetry, only to melt into disorder as sunlight touches them. For a time, islands of order exist. They shine, they change, they breathe, but they always cost something. Energy must be spent, heat must flow, entropy must grow somewhere else. Every time you light a candle, you create beauty and light at the cost of increasing entropy in the air around it. This is the trade the universe makes. Order is possible, but always borrowed. Ashes are not nothing. They are the receipt. They say, there was fire here. It changed the world around it. And now it rests. The memory of a fire is not just in the blackened wood. It's in the heat still lingering in the air. It's in the light that bounced off walls and faces. It's in the chemical reactions that rearranged molecules forever. And you, too, leave this kind of memory behind in everything you touch. You warm a room just by being in it. You change the air when you speak. You stir the water when you move through it. Entropy rises gently with every breath. And still, that's not a tragedy. It's just the quiet rule by which change happens. There's a strange kind of hope in that, don't you think? That even in the fading, something remains. Not perfectly, not preserved in crystal, but there's a trace, a shadow, a softened shape, like a photograph left in sunlight, its colors slowly washed away, but still recognizable as a moment once loved. Entropy does not erase, it transforms. The order you once held is not gone, it has simply become part of the larger fabric, woven into the expanding randomness of the cosmos. You are not lost, you are distributed. So as you lie here now, in the hush between thoughts, you can feel the stillness settle. The day's heat has softened, its tensions released. Your muscles unwind like coiled ribbon. And even in this moment, entropy rises gently, without alarm. Your body gives off warmth, your thoughts dissolve into breath, and your breath into quiet. The fire of the day has left its memory in you, not as ash, but as peace. And somewhere in the dark, the ashes of ancient stars still whisper of the fires they once were. And yet, in this soft rise of disorder, there's a question. If the universe forgets nothing, if every flame leaves a trace, then perhaps time itself remembers every moment in ways we've yet to see. What then? Does time truly hold? What shape does memory take? When carried by the universe itself, you cradle the warm mug between your palms, a quiet comfort in the hush of morning. Steam curls like soft breath, rising slowly into the air above, disappearing as though it had never been. You pour the cream, a ribbon of white sliding silently into the darkness of your coffee. For a moment, just a moment, you see the contrast. Light swirling in shadow, two worlds brushing past one another. Then you stir, the spoon spins, and the cream stretches out, curling and folding, twisting into the coffee's warmth like cloud into sky. No sound, just motion, no resistance, just change. And within seconds, the dance ends. You're left with something new, a single shade, soft brown and quiet. What happened feels small, ordinary, but it is the unfolding of a fundamental truth of the universe, a truth so deep it defines what time means to you. Because now, no matter how patiently you try, you can't stir it back. You can't bring the cream back to its ribbon form. You can't reverse the spin, can't unswirl the blend. The separation you once saw, pure cream, pure coffee, has disappeared into something you cannot undo. This is entropy at play. Entropy, the tendency of systems to move from order to disorder, from clear to cloudy, from separated to mixed, from structured to scattered. But what does that really mean? Imagine all the tiny particles inside your cup, tiny molecules of cream, molecules of coffee, all dancing in the liquid's warmth. Before the stir, they were grouped, organized like two sides of a soft conversation. But stirring disrupts the silence. It sets everything loose. Cream and coffee crash together, scatter, rebound, blend. And they do so in billions of different ways. Here's the thing. There are more ways for cream and coffee to be mixed than there are for them to be separate. Billions more. Trillions. Even. Nature, quietly and without apology, chooses the path with the most possibilities. That's entropy. Not chaos in the loud, angry sense, but in the soft inevitability that things will spread, that systems will find the states with the greatest freedom, the most arrangements, the widest room to breathe. In your cup, the mixed coffee cream represents a state of higher entropy. It's more disordered, yes, but not in a negative way, just in a way that's more probable. Like sand slipping from a careful pile into a gentle spread across the floor, or a melody dissolving into quiet hums of echo, or a room once neat, slowly collecting traces of life. It's not a mistake. It's a law. This one-way motion toward more possible arrangements gives direction to time itself. It's why you remember the past, but not the future. Why footprints press into the sand, but never press out again. Why ashes don't reassemble into flame. Why the cream does not unstir. Time, as you experience it, is not just ticking forward, it's flowing from lower entropy to higher entropy. That's the arrow, and it's quiet. No alarm bell sounds when disorder arises. No fanfare plays when a structure melts into something softer, less defined. But still, it marches on. This isn't just coffee. Stars burn because entropy increases. Galaxies swirl, planets cool, ice melts, and hearts break because things move from less probable to more probable. Your memories collect on one side of the arrow, never the other. You grow, then age. A vase breaks, but never reforms. Not because it can't, but because it's so deeply improbable that it's practically impossible. Entropy is the hidden current pulling you forward. You may not see it, but it shapes everything. Your morning, your motion, your mind. Even your thoughts carry entropy, a spark of realization arranged in your neurons, disperses slowly, leaving only its impression. So what if you could reverse it? What if, somehow, you could unswirl the coffee, unburn the match, unring the bell? You can't. Not because the laws forbid it, in principle, but because the odds are breathtakingly small. So small, the universe would need to try longer than its own lifetime. Reversing entropy isn't illegal, it's just unbelievably unlikely. The laws favor movement toward the wide open, toward the spread, toward the state, where everything is a little less neat, but far more free. You sip your coffee. Its warmth is even now. The cream has vanished into everything else. It has not disappeared. It has become part of the whole. Entropy didn't destroy the cream. It just let it go. So much of the world is like that, letting go, not to vanish, but to join, to expand, to open. And as you sit, you begin to feel that entropy isn't about loss. It's about change, about a gentle loosening of the tight arrangements, a soft surrender into the fullness of possibility. And just like that, your cup teaches you why time moves forward, why life never rewinds, why even the stars slowly dim and even memories blur at the edges. But what of life itself, this complex, delicate thing that seems to build structures in a universe that prefers the crumble? What of order when the universe leans toward disorder? That, dear listener, is the question we now carry forward into the next quiet evening. You close your eyes and imagine a room divided not by walls, but by possibility. Two chambers, quiet and still, connected by a tiny door, a single opening, just enough for something strange to unfold. Inside this room, invisible particles, little flecks of air, bounce and dance without pattern or plan. Some fast, some slow, some gentle as falling feathers, some swift like startled birds. Chaos, and yet beautiful. Now, into this silent scene steps a mind, not a person, not even a body, just a watcher, an imagined being, so small, so careful that it can see each molecule in motion. It sees which particles are fast. It sees which ones are slow. It watches each chaotic leap with perfect attention, and with a flick of will, it begins to act. When a fast particle comes, it opens the door, letting the speed pass into one chamber. When a slow one nears, it opens the door to the other side. Fast here, slow there, bit by bit. Without lifting a finger, the room begins to change. One side grows warmer, the other cooler. Energy separates from stillness. Order emerges from randomness, and all without doing any work, or so it seems. This tiny watcher was born in the mind of James Clerk Maxwell, a physicist with a gift for dreams. He called it a demon, not in malice, but in mystery, the thought experiment to challenge the rising empire of entropy. How could disorder be so certain if a being could sort the chaos into clean lines again? Maxwell's demon stared boldly into the second law, the rule that time moves from order to disorder, and asked, what if knowledge could reverse the arrow? Could intelligence bend the rules? Could attention carve islands of order in a sea of decay? This tiny idea sparked a storm, a paradox, a riddle at the heart of physics and information. Because if this demon could truly separate hot from cold, fast from slow, without doing work, then entropy itself could be defeated. And that would mean a machine could run forever, extracting energy from mere knowledge, turning thought into fuel. Dream of control, a fantasy of reversal. But slowly, quietly, the truth emerged, like light creeping beneath the door. To act, the demon must know. To know, it must observe. To observe, it must measure. To measure, it must store what it sees. And memory, that gentle garden of patterns and recall, has its cost. Every time the demon records the speed of a molecule, it uses space. And space, like time, is finite. Eventually, the memory fills. To continue, the demon must erase. And erasure, the clearing of a bit, the wiping of a thought, releases heat. It raises entropy. The very act of clearing away the old undoes the order it tried to build. The demon doesn't cheat the law. It hides the cost in the quiet corners of forgetting. And so, the second law stands, not as a wall, but as a rhythm, not as a punishment, but as a whisper that even dreams must pay their dues. Maxwell's demon taught us more than defiance. It showed us that knowledge itself is physical, that information is not nothing, it is something. It lives in particles, in states, in memory, your thoughts, your choices, your noticing. They all leave trails in the fabric of reality. There is no pure observer hovering outside the system. To know is to touch. To measure is to leave a mark. Even you, when you notice the world, are part of the dance. And in that is something profound. We cannot reverse the river, but we can shape its flow. We cannot stop the spreading of the stars' warmth into the cold night, but we can gather pockets of warmth, brief homes of order, life, thought, love. You are such a pocket. Your body, a collection of cells, burning fuel, staving off disorder for a time. Your mind, a swirl of electrical storms, processing meaning, sorting the world into patterns and memories. Like the demon, you try to make sense of chaos. You build islands, a clean room, a carefully kept promise, a handwritten page where none was before. And yes, it takes energy, effort, loss elsewhere. But that's the beauty. Order is fleeting. And because it is fleeting, it is sacred. You live not in defiance of the second law, but in delicate tension with it. You are a flame in the wind, not permanent, but persistent. And Maxwell's demon, the imagined gatekeeper, reminds you that intelligence matters, not because it breaks the rules, but because it dances with them so beautifully. And if knowledge has a cost, so too does forgetting. You sip the thought like warm tea, letting it settle in your chest. Control, it seems, is not about stopping change. It's about understanding where and how to shape the change. The demon fades, the room dissolves, and you are left not with answers, but with deeper questions. If information is physical, if thoughts carry weight, then what else might be built from pure knowledge? Could you, one day, move matter with logic alone? Could reality itself be coded? That is the question we now carry into the next quiet moment. Breathe in. Now breathe out. A simple motion, so familiar, so quiet, yet, at its core, a ritual of entropy. Each breath you take is a moment of order, giving way to gentle unraveling. Oxygen enters, fuel for fire, and carbon slips out, a trace of warmth lost to the wider world. The process is life. The price is disorder. Still, you breathe again. You lie still, wrapped in silence. And somewhere inside you, cells work tirelessly. Tiny engines burn sugars, pump ions, fold proteins into intricate shapes, a choreography of astonishing precision. But what keeps it going? Why doesn't everything simply fall apart? Entropy always wins. We're told disorder increases, energy spreads. Yet here you are, holding a form, thinking thoughts, curious still. Life, it seems, is the exception written in stardust. But it is not immune to the second law. Rather, it dances within it. It survives, not by halting disorder, but by mastering its flow. Imagine a stream rushing downhill. Entropy is this descent, a flood of possibility flowing from order to chaos. You cannot stop the river, but a clever hand can build a wheel, a turbine, a channel, not to defy the flow, but to use it. Life is such a channel. From the first flickers of early molecules, life has learned to borrow order from disorder, to build temporary pockets of structure in the ever-spreading fog. You are made of such pockets. Skin, bones, memory, intention. Every heartbeat, every blink is a fight against the pull wall of randomness. And every moment you succeed a little longer, but at a cost. You burn energy. You give off heat. You shed fragments of your own stability just to maintain a shape. It is like holding a snowflake in a warming hand. You must keep replacing what melts away. Your body, a fortress of fragile design, defends its walls by letting entropy flow out through the gates. You eat order from the world. You breathe oxygen to fuel your flame. You sleep, restoring what slips each day into disarray. And yet, this is not loss. This is life's great art. To live is not to stop entropy. It is to redirect it, to catch a breath between the waves and build a moment of meaning. Even at the level of DNA, the story continues. Each strand is a message written in a code of 4 letters. It wins and coils, not in chaos, but in deliberate design. To copy it is to fight randomness. To transcribe, to translate, to fold proteins from its song, all these things resist the spread of disorder, but only for a time. Eventually, errors creep in. Molecules drift apart. Cells forget how to divide. And the body, this miracle of persistence, begins to yield to the night. Still, even in death, entropy is not villain. It is the great recycler, the silent compost from which new order may grow. A fallen leaf nourishes the soil. A broken branch becomes the bed for mushrooms, moss, and microlife. Ashes remember the flame. Entropy, though relentless, also makes room for change. If everything stayed forever fixed, there would be no birth, no growth, no transformation. Life borrows from the flow. It is a breath between. But not only humans breathe. Think of trees, great towers of green, rooted deep, reaching high. They inhale what you exhale and feed on sunlight spilled across sky. They too channel entropy. In their leaves, light is captured. Photons, once flung from a star, are trapped, converted, stored in sugars, order pulled from scattered light. But even this is not permanent. Autumn comes, leaves fall, decay whispers its slow lullaby. And yet, from fallen leaves, spring returns. Entropy is not an enemy. It is the heartbeat of renewal. In every cell, energy flows. From the sun, to the leaf, to the fruit, to your hand. And in your hand, it becomes thought, choice, possibility. You may wonder, why fight at all if the end is written? But life is not a battle against losing. It is a song against silence. A brief, brilliant structure in the open field of time. Think of a sandcastle on the shore. You know the tide will come, but still you build, you shape, you smooth edges, you carve windows with care. The beauty is in the making, not in how long it lasts. Entropy reminds you that every choice matters now, because the moment will pass. And because it will, you give it meaning. You reach out. You love. You build. You remember, not to escape the wave, but to dance within it. The breath between is sacred. because it is brief. So you breathe in, you breathe out, and you marvel at the miracle of this delicate defiance, not of the law, but of despair. Entropy increases, yes, but so does life in its bold insistence to rise again and again, like green through stone. Somewhere in you, a warmth continues, an order, however small, that chooses to hold on. And just as your body channels entropy into movement, into meaning, so too does your mind. Thoughts ripple, ideas bloom, stories are told. Even this moment, you listening, you wondering, is a pattern against the dark. And if minds can shape order, if thoughts can carve structure, then perhaps the next question awaits in silence. Can entropy be used not just to power life, but to teach machines to think? Change does not knock. It arrives, swift, uninvited, spilling across the floor like sunlight through broken shutters. You blink, and it has already happened. The drop of milk spreads in the coffee, unstoppable. A match ignites. A breath later, its shape has become flame. And yet, beneath these tiny instants, a deeper story breathes. A rhythm, a clockwork, a pulse of physics, guiding each turn of the universe's unfolding page. You lie still tonight, but the world rushes forward. Atoms dance, stars burn, ideas flicker in someone else's sleepless mind. This is the speed of change, not just how fast, but how inevitable. A measure, not of time, but of transformation. Entropy again stands at the center, but this time, not as a soft tide, but as an accelerant, a timer on the wall of the cosmos. It tells you what can change and how quickly. It shapes what the universe allows to happen. Next, take a warm room and a cold cup of tea. Entropy says these two will meet and trade and merge. But how fast? Ah, that is the secret. The rate depends on the gap, the difference in energy, the steepness of the slope. A marble rolls faster down a sharper hill, and so too, change rushes where imbalance lives. The universe is drawn to difference. It smooths it, it spreads it, it equalizes. In this act, the pace quickens. Moments that seem slow from far away can unravel with sudden grace. Think of ice melting in your glass. At first, nothing, stillness, just the quiet tension between structure and warmth. But then, a drip, a slide, a soft crack as bonds break and the grid dissolves. Change was always waiting. Speed was stored in the difference. This is true not only in things, but in thought. You've seen it. An idea, a new way, a disruption enters quietly. It begins as a question, then a whisper, then a revolution. Why? Because the mind, too, follows entropy, not in destruction, but in the unfolding of possibility. Once you know a better way, you cannot unknow. Once the balance is tipped, change rushes in. This is why progress often feels sudden. Why one day everything is different. Language, technology, truth. The slope steepened while we slept, and when it did, speed became a consequence. The steam engine, the silicon chip, the gene edit, the machine that listens, each a change that quickened the next, each a match to waiting fuel. But speed is not always kind. Change arrives whether we're ready or not. It gives as it takes, heals and harms. In the same breath, the faster the change, the more delicate the balance. Just as water boils over when too much heat is added too quickly, so too can systems collapse when rushed. So the question becomes, can you guide the speed of change? Can you slow it, hold it, steer it, or is it a current that carries you regardless of where you meant to go? Physics says, partly, yes. There are levers, variables, friction. A dam can slow a river. An insulator can delay the heat. Pause can soften the fall, but only for a time. Change, like entropy, is not denied, only redirected. And even then, some changes are irreversible. A broken egg, a spoken word, a species gone, the trust lost. The speed was not the danger, it was the direction. So you wonder, if we cannot stop the flow, can we at least choose its path? And here, life itself offers a quiet answer. Biology has long managed change, each cell a tiny master of pacing. Proteins fold only at the right time. Genes switch on in rhythmic waves. Growth comes in stages, measured, deliberate, careful. If it rushes, a tumor. If it halts, a decay. Balance isn't stillness, it's timing. So too with thought, with culture, with innovation. We build tools that outpace our wisdom. We birth code before we've built ethics. Change speeds on. But can we, humans, learn to breathe within it? Can we make space between the sparks? Not to deny progress, but to shape it. To ask, what is this change for? Who does it serve? What does it cost? The wind of change can carry us to new lands or scatter us like dust. It depends on how we listen and how we wait. In thermodynamics, there's a quantity called free energy. It tells you how much change is possible and how fast. But even in physics, not all things move at the same rate. Some transformations are kinetically trapped. They want to change, but the path is too hard. So they wait. Change is possible, but not yet. In your life, there are such places, moments that have not arrived, decisions not yet made, truths still forming. And that's okay, because even entropy has its pauses. Even speed can slow for reflection. You are not only the witness to change, you are its sculptor. The breath you take now is yours. The thought you shape Next is yours. And while the world will change again and faster, you can still choose how you respond. In the end, it is not the speed that defines you. It is what you build within the rush. The sandstorm rages, but somewhere inside, you place a stone, a marker, a meaning. This is human. This is choice. And as the pace increases, as seconds become saturated with signals, another question forms. If speed cannot be stopped, can a mind, born of silicon, learn to feel it? There is a hush beneath speed, silence that only light knows how to break. It is the silence between stars, the pause before lightning, the stillness inside time itself. And from that hush, a beam emerges. No wheels, no wings, just a ripple in the very fabric of existence. Light, the fastest thing in the known universe. But why? Why does light set the limit? Why does nothing, not rockets, not dreams, not even thought, surpass its speed? The answer is not just in speed. It's in what speed means. You see, speed is more than motion. It's a relation between space and time. And light lives perfectly at that edge. It doesn't move through time like you do. It defines it. Let's slow everything down. Imagine you are in space, still, alone, no sound, no gravity. You flick on a flashlight. The beam leaves your hand and races forward at 299,792,458 meters per second. Not more, not less. Always. Exactly that. No matter where you are, no matter how fast you move, no matter how hard you try. This is strange. With everything else, speed depends on your frame. A car zooming by seems faster when you're standing still than when you chase it. Light? Light doesn't care. You could run toward it at half its speed, and it would still leave you at full speed. It's not arrogance, it's physics. This oddity was noticed long ago, and it broke the old rules. Einstein stared into this problem and saw a universe bending at the seams. If light's speed is constant for everyone, then something else must give. And so it did. Time and space. They stretch, they compress, they twist to keep light unchallenged. The faster you go, the slower time flows for you. Your ruler shortens, your mass grows. It is the universe defending light's throne. Because if anything could outrun it, the rules of cause and effect would break. Messages could arrive before they're sent. Events could undo themselves. The past could be undone by the future. And so, the universe prevents it. Light marks the edge of causality. Beyond it, nonsense. But what is light? Not just brightness, not just something you see with. It is a vibration, an oscillation of electric and magnetic fields. A wave without mass, particle with no rest. Because it has no mass, it doesn't need to be pushed. It rides the shape of space itself. But here's the key. Because it has no mass, it cannot go slower. It must always move at that cosmic limit. It has no gear to shift down into. So now imagine you add mass, single grain, a hint of weight. Now it can slow, but it can never reach light's pace. Why? Because the closer you get to light speed, the more energy you need. It grows toward infinity, and nothing has infinite energy. Not stars, not black holes, not hope. This isn't just a wall. It's a curve, rising endlessly. The faster you go, the harder each next step becomes. You could spend the entire energy of your planet trying to push a grain to light speed, and still it would fall short. You're bound to the slope. This limit isn't cruelty, it's grace. Without it, reality would fray. So why is light allowed? Because it was never still. To be still is to have a clock, to have a before and after. But light doesn't age from its own view. If it had one, its journey takes no time. Everywhere it has been, all at once. It leaves the star 1 billion years ago and strikes your eye. But for the photon, there was no wait, no ticking clock, just arrival. Light lives in the eternal now. Eat with your mass, travel through time. You feel it, you count it. But photons do not. They are timeless travelers, stretched between moments. And this is why they are the messengers of the cosmos. No medium is more loyal, no carrier more constant. They deliver images, information, memory. They thread the night sky with news from ancient galaxies. They bounce from mirrors, scatter in clouds, bend in glass, but they do not tire. They carry the story of the stars without delay. And we ride in their shadows. Every screen you've touched, every face you've seen, every sunrise, light brought it. And yet, you'll never ride with it, never sit beside a photon. You can chase it, but always just behind. Even if you sat inside the fastest ship and pushed harder than any flame had ever pushed, you would see the light still leaving you just as fast as before. Because speed is not the point. The point is the structure beneath it. The universe is built to make light king. Its speed is not arbitrary. It is the speed at which information travels, the maximum rate of cause and effect, the universal whisper from one place to the next. So when you look at a beam spilling through your window, remember that beam traveled through war, through storms, through silence, from the edge of something else. It did not stop. It did not ask. It simply moved at the only speed the cosmos allows for truth. So the next time you wonder why nothing outruns light, remember, because light isn't just fast, it is the pace of reality itself. To move faster would be to unmake reality, and that even the universe won't allow. There is a kind of silence that doesn't come from quiet, but from stillness, not of space, not of breath, but of time. Can you imagine that? To stand while everything flows, to feel the universe move around you, and yet feel no tick, no talk, no drift from one moment to the next. We often think of time as a river carrying us forward, but what if you stepped out of the current? Would you feel cold? Would you feel free? Would you feel anything at all? This is not fantasy. It's physics. And it begins with a train racing through the night, and a flash of lightning in two directions. This was Einstein's thought experiment to ask, who sees what? When? If you're standing beside the tracks and a flash goes off in the middle of the train, you see both ends light up at the same time. But if you're on the train, rushing forward, you see the front flash first, then the back. The event is the same, but time disagrees. This is not a glitch. It is how time works. It bends to your motion. And so, depending on where you stand, you experience a different sequence of now. Now is not absolute. It's local. It belongs to you. That means someone moving fast, truly fast, near the speed of light, will age more slowly than someone at rest. This isn't theory. We've tested it with atomic clocks, on jets, on mountains, even in GPS satellites. Time ticks more slowly the faster you go. And so, to truly stand still in time, you would have to move at the ultimate pace, so fast that your own time ceases to pass. Light does this. Photons are frozen in their own clock. To them, their journey has no duration. From their birth in a star to their end in your eye, they experience no wait. So to stand still in time is to become like light. And yet, you are not light. You have mass. You live in time. Can you feel what it would be like? Let's imagine it. You're in a ship far beyond Earth, riding faster and faster, pushing close to light speed. You look out the window, and the stars seem to stretch. Colors shift. Time dilates. Inside your cabin, everything feels normal. Your heartbeat, your breath, a blink. But outside, years pass. A planet turns. Generations live and vanish. Rain falls and dries. Empires rise and end. To you, it's been minutes. To Earth, it's been centuries. This is the feeling of standing still in time, not frozen, but slowed, relative to the rest. A kind of loneliness that bends the soul. You haven't escaped time. You've stretched it. And here's the wonder. Every motion you make affects the pace at which you live. Sit still, and you are moving through time at Earth's default. Climb a mountain, and time moves slightly faster. Drop into a valley, and it slows again. Even gravity plays a hand. Einstein taught us that mass curves space and time. Clock near a black hole runs slower than one in open space. If you stood on the edge of a black hole's horizon, not falling, just balanced, you would see The universe race ahead. Stars spin faster. Galaxies dance at double time. The cosmos would seem to leap forward. To you, moments crawl. To them, you are nearly frozen. Again, not a trick, not a metaphor, a truth woven into space-time. You are always in motion and always sculpting your relationship with time. But can we truly feel it? Perhaps not, like a clock, but we feel time's slipperiness in other ways. Moments of seem longer. Pain seems to slow time down. Joys can make it fly. These are echoes, emotional time dilation. Your brain keeps its own tempo. But beneath that, beneath thought and memory, there is physics, the time of the body, the tick of particles, the rhythm of decay, of light, of entropy. And so, what would it feel like to truly stand still? Perhaps you'd stop aging. No hunger, no fatigue, no longing. You would see the sky change colors as light warped toward the red or the blue. You'd see civilizations appear and vanish like campfires from orbit. You might witness the death of stars and the birth of new ones, all within your next breath. You'd be out of sync with the universe and yet more connected than ever. Because to stand still in time is to be outside its flow, but not outside its laws. It is to become a mirror in which time passes for others, but not for you. And so you would watch the story unfold without being written into it. Perhaps that is the truest stillness, not absence, but observation. See, without being seen by time, we imagine immortality as endless time. But this is different. It is the edge of time, a place where past and future lose meaning. Only relativity remains, only perspective, and you suspended like a seat on the wind, watching time rush past like a river you dare not enter. You are the pause between seconds, the silence between thoughts, the stillness where time stares back. There is an agreement older than stars, older than light, older than memory itself, a contract whispered into the very fabric of the universe, not signed by hands, but etched in the geometry of everything. We call it space-time, but it is more than space, more than time. It is the stage and the script, the actor and the breath, invisible but unyielding. It tells light where to go, tells planets how to fall, tells time how to tick, and yet it listens too. This contract, this mutual arrangement, is not one-sided. Matter and energy write their signatures across its pages, and in return, space-time bends. The star writes its mass into the ledger, and space-time curves. Black hole presses harder, and the fabric folds so sharply that not even light can find its way out. This is not a metaphor. It is the heart of relativity. As Einstein saw it, gravity is not a force. It is geometry. A planet orbits a sun, not because it is pulled, but because it is following the straightest path in a curved world. Imagine a marble rolling across a stretched sheet. Place a heavy ball in the center, and the marble spirals inward, not because it's cold, but because space itself has been reshaped. This is the contract. Mass tells spacetime how to curve. Spacetime tells mass how to move. But what if you could read this contract in full? Would you see destiny? Would you see freedom? Or something stranger? Let's try. Imagine the universe, not as a movie, playing frame by frame, but as a reel already complete. Every event, every moment, every choice, not unfolding, but simply there. This is the block universe, where past, present, and future all coexist, woven into the same eternal cloth. You are not just here, in this moment. You are smeared, like ink, across time. The child you were, the elder you may become, the thoughts you haven't yet had. They are already written in space-time script, not as fate, but as form. Because if you could rise above time, you wouldn't see motion, only structure. The way a mountain doesn't move, yet contains all the rivers that will flow from it. But how can this be? Don't we change? Don't we choose? Yes, and still, all of it exists. The river flows, not because it must, but because the terrain allows it. You choose within the landscape of possibility, and space-time is that landscape. But the contract goes deeper still. It doesn't just define paths and bends. It defines limits. The speed of light is not just fast, it is the maximum. Nothing can go faster. Not information, not touch, not thought. It's not a speed limit posted on cosmic highways. It is a structural boundary set by the contract itself. Why? Because if anything could go faster, the entire agreement would break. Causality would unravel. Effects could come before causes. Paradoxes would bloom like wildflowers through logic. And the universe doesn't tolerate contradiction. So spacetime enforces its terms with precision, with elegance, with silence. But like all contracts, it has loopholes, not ways to escape, but ways to imagine differently. What about wormholes? Tunnels through space-time that shortcut vast distances? The equations allow them. Mathematically, they exist. But sustaining one would require matter with negative energy, something not yet found, but not yet forbidden. Or what of time travel? Can the contract be bent to circle back under certain conditions? Spinning black holes, closed time-like curves. It is possible on paper, but the universe may have its own clauses, cosmic censorship, chronology protection, in fine print to prevent paradox, as if the contract knows what it risks. Still, every day, we live under its terms. GPS satellites account for time dilation. We launch probes using curved space calculations. We trust that nothing we send can reach us before it left. This is the silent agreement we abide by. without ever signing. But here's what's most beautiful. The contract between matter and space-time makes emergence possible. Out of bending and ticking come galaxies. Out of warps and weights come trees, skies, breath, and eventually us, beings who can ask what it all means. We are not separate from this contract. We are clauses within it. Our memories, our stories, our dreams, they all unfurl inside a geometry that holds everything. And still, it listens. Because every action we take feeds back into the fabric. Every footstep curves space-time just slightly. You leave an imprint on the cosmos. Not large, not lasting, but real, and the contract holds. Even when stars collapse, even when galaxies die, even when heat spreads thin and light fades cold, the agreement remains. Not because it is just, but because it is true. And so, next time you look up at the night sky, remember, you are not separate from the laws. You are part of the negotiation. Ripple in the agreement. A sentence in the clause. A brief moment in the ever-binding contract of space-time. There is a place where time curves so steeply it forgets how to move forward, where space folds in on itself, and light, the swiftest traveler we know, slows to a standstill against the edge of the unreturning. This place has a name, and yet it feels more like a whisper than a word. The event horizon, the outer skin of a black hole where space and time exchange roles, where causality shudders and certainty dissolves into shadow. You've stood near thresholds before, doorways, moments, choices. But this threshold is not metaphor. It is physics made boundary, a membrane between what can be seen and what can never come back. And yet, this dark horizon, this edge of disappearance, it glows. Not in light you can see, but in logic you can trust. Because even here, in the cold mouth of gravity's final word, thermodynamics still speaks. Entropy still rises. And information, though trapped, refuses to vanish without a trace. Let's begin with the contradiction. Black holes, for decades, were thought to be simple, featureless, hungry. They swallowed mass, light, time, and gave back nothing. Like cosmic drains, they grew with every meal, but revealed nothing about what went in. A one-way process, a destruction of information. And yet, this couldn't be, because the laws of quantum mechanics do not permit information loss. Ever. If something exists, its record, its fingerprint, must endure in some form. You can scramble it. You can burn it. You can stretch it beyond recognition, but you cannot erase it. That's the second law of thermodynamics, whispered in the language of bits. And here's where a new kind of physics had to emerge. At the crossroads of heat and gravity, of entropy and curvature, where Stephen Hawking and Jacob Bekenstein asked a question that would change everything. What is the entropy of a black hole? It seems absurd. How can something that reveals nothing have entropy? A measure of what we do not know. And yet, when you do the math, a stunning truth appears. A black hole has entropy, not zero, not infinite, but finite, precise, predictable, and more strange still, its entropy is not proportional to its volume, but to the area of its event horizon. A black hole is a container whose internal information is stored not within, but on the surface, like a hologram, like a message engraved on the very skin of the boundary. This, this is the bridge between gravity and heat, between space-time's bending and thermodynamic law. Because if a black hole has entropy, then it must have a temperature. And if it has temperature, then, by definition, it must radiate. This was Hawking's leap. This was his paradox. This was his gift. Black holes are not entirely black. They glow. They emit a faint and ghostly radiation, Hawking radiation, as if the horizon itself trembles with quantum uncertainty. Here's how. In the vacuum near the horizon, particles and antiparticles flicker into being, borrowed from nothing by quantum whim. Usually, they annihilate instantly. But if one falls in while the other escapes, it leaves behind a trace. The escaping particle carries energy away. Tiny, yes, but real. Over time, the black hole shrinks. It radiates. It evaporates. Its mass, once thought inviolable, leaks back into the universe, slowly, silently, inevitably. And the information? That's the puzzle. Is it lost forever behind the veil? Or is it encoded somehow in the Hawking glow? This is the black hole information paradox, an unsolved riddle where thermodynamics, quantum mechanics, and relativity hold different answers. Some say information is destroyed. Others claim it is hidden on the horizon, like a code written in curvature. The boldest ideas suggest that the universe itself is holographic, that reality is a projection from a lower dimensional surface at the edge of everything. Whatever the answer, this convergence at the event horizon is not just a curiosity, it is a sign that the universe has deeper laws still, unwritten, perhaps, but not unknowable. It tells us that even at the edge of time, the laws of heat still hold sway, that entropy respects no boundaries, not even gravity's, and that the second law, so gentle in your coffee cup, so patient in your breath, is the same force governing black holes. It is not just about disorder. It is about accounting, about the preservation of stories. Because the universe, at its core, seems to remember, even when it forgets where it left the keys. The horizon, black, silent, absolute, is not an eraser. It is a library wall. And while we may not yet know how to read it, we are learning what it means to write. And so, when you next feel lost in the gravity of something too large to escape, remember, Even black holes obey the laws of warmth, of time, of knowing. Even the darkest places glow with possibility. Even the end, a doorway disguised. Imagine a wind that can never blow faster than a certain speed, no matter how strong the storm, how determined the force. There is a boundary, a cosmic speed limit. That limit is light. 299,792,458 meters per second. Unyielding, elegant, absolute. But what does speed have to do with memory? Why would a universe that remembers its past, but not its future, care about how fast something can move? Tonight, we step into the strange, subtle partnership between motion and memory, between what can be known and what must be forgotten. Let's begin with a truth so familiar we rarely question it. You remember yesterday, but not tomorrow. You recall where you were, not where you will be. Time moves forward in your thoughts, and so does causality. Effects follow causes. Ashes follow flame. Ripples follow stones. But underneath this direction, beneath the arrow of time, lies a deeper structure, a limit, a constraint woven into the very laws of how things talk to each other. Nothing can travel faster than light. Not information, not influence, not even memory. Why? Because if it could, the universe would become inconsistent. The past could rewrite itself. Causality could break. The script would collapse into paradox. Light speed is not just about motion. It is about boundaries, about what can know what and when. It draws a circle around every event called the light cone. Everything inside that cone can influence you. Everything outside cannot. Not yet. Not ever. In some cases, your memories, then, are built from the inside of those cones, from signals that had time to arrive, from events that lay within the causal past. It is this constraint, this firm line, that makes memory possible. Without it, everything would be in contact with everything else. There would be no distance, no before, no after, only chaos, a blur, a soup of all possible happenings, all at once. But the speed limit slows the universe into order, into narratable experience, into a place where things unfold instead of explode. It gives time, texture, sequence, story. And with that comes memory. Let's pause to feel this. Every time you remember a song, a voice, a sky at dusk, you are recalling a signal that reached you only because it obeyed the speed limit. Photons from a distant star 8 billion years away traveled at light speed just to whisper into your telescope. Had they gone faster, you might have known before the light even left. But then the memory would outpace the moment. The script would unravel. Causality would fracture. And physics does not tolerate a broken mirror of cause and effect. This limit then protects memory from contradiction. It lets you know that what you remember is rooted in what actually happened, not in what could have happened or what happened later. Even entropy, that quiet climb toward disorder, respects this ceiling. The broken cup spreads its shards no faster than light. The warmth from a fire spills outward only so fast. The future does not rush before it's allowed. All of thermodynamics, in some sense, rides this boundary. The second law is not just about rising entropy, it's about how fast that entropy can ripple outward. And that ripple is capped by the speed of light. Now imagine if you could send a signal faster than this limit. You send it to your past self. They act differently. The event changes. But now there's no reason to send the message in the first place. A loop, a paradox, a collapse of logic. So the universe does something brilliant. It forbids it. It doesn't allow such messages, not even theoretically. No cheat codes, no backdoors. Because to protect memory, it must protect sequence. And to protect sequence, it must protect speed. Even in black holes, where time bends and space twists, this rule applies. The event horizon keeps its secrets, not just because of gravity, but because nothing inside can send a signal out faster than light. The edge is not a wall, it's a limit, a speed limit turned prison. Information caught behind it can't reach us in time or ever. So when we talk about the speed of light, we aren't just talking about velocity. We're talking about memory's leash, about which parts of the universe can speak to one another and when. Now, you might ask, what about dreams? What about intuition or imagination? Don't they leap faster than light? They feel instantaneous, unbound. But even there, your thoughts are chained to experience, to perception, to signals that once traveled the hard road of physics to reach you. Your mind may dance faster than photons, but it dances to a rhythm those photons set. It remembers what the speed limit has permitted, and so the universe remains coherent. No contradictions, no messages from a future that hasn't yet arrived. Just a clean, clockwise arc of cause and effect. A slow unfolding of now into next, and through it, memory threads its quiet braid. Each recollection, a gift from signals obeying the ultimate constraint. You, then, are not just a creature of memory. You are a creature of light's speed. Your stories, your regrets, your longings, all exist because the universe is patient, because it waits for signals to arrive in order, because it enforces a cosmic politeness about who gets to speak and when. This is how memory survives, in delay, in waiting, in a slowness that allows structure. Light travels fast, but not instantly, and in that, not quite now, the universe becomes knowable, beautiful, sequential, remembered. In the deep black vault, where silence hums and gravity folds space, like origami, there burn the engines of our becoming. Stars, ancient, blazing, unrelenting, each one a cosmic hearth where order is sacrificed to light. And in that light, soft gold, piercing blue, we glimpse the slow unraveling of perfection. Because stars, though radiant, are not eternal. They are machines of entropy. Inside them, the clean simplicity of hydrogen is pressed and shattered, merged into heavier things. Helium, carbon, oxygen, iron, elements built in a core that gets hotter as the fuel runs thin. But nothing is free. Every fusion releases energy and increases disorder. The heart of every sun is a furnace of forgetting, a place where simplicity dies to become complexity, and complexity dies to become entropy. Rises with every photon a star emits. It shines, not because it resists the second law, but because it obeys it, because it converts structure into glow, order into heat, potential into memory. Let's travel inward, not across distance, but into the core of one of these celestial engines. Take our sun, so gentle on our skin, so quiet above the clouds, and yet at its heart, 15 million degrees. Atoms crushed together with such force, they forget what they were. 4 protons become helium. Math becomes light. Tiny difference in weight becomes warmth for Earth. This is fusion, but more than that, this is entropy in slow motion. Each reaction spreads energy outward a billion times a second. Pressure against gravity's pull, a balance that defines the shape of the star. But the universe demands a price. Every release of energy carries entropy outward, tiny disorderings of particles, of positions, of motion. And those photons, the ones that heat your cheeks at noon, took 10,000 years to wander from the core to the surface of the sun. Not because they are slow, but because they are scattered, bounced, redirected in a random walk through chaos. By the time a single ray reaches space, its history is tangled beyond knowing. Entropy has already left its signature long before we feel the warmth. And that warmth, so vital to life, is a whisper from disorder, a message from the star that the universe is aging and cannot go back. Stars die, not suddenly, but inevitably. As hydrogen runs out, they fuse heavier elements, helium to carbon, carbon to oxygen, oxygen to silicon, and finally iron. But iron is the end of the line. It resists fusion, refuses to release energy. To push past it would require a star to consume more than it gains. And so the balance breaks. Gravity wins. The core collapses. Electrons are crushed. Atoms implode. And in that final moment, a star becomes something else. A white dwarf, a neutron star, or, if massive enough, a black hole. All of these are stories written by Entropy, endings authored by the arrow of heat and time. Even the black hole, a prison of light, is not free from this fate. Its horizon radiates with a ghostly heat predicted by Hawking. Tiny amounts of energy leak away, carrying entropy into space. Slowly, patiently, inevitably, the black hole evaporates. Even silence cannot escape. Disorder forever. And so, the stars are born. They burn, they collapse, and all of it adds to the ledger of the universe's irreversible change. But what then of us? We who are made of carbon from a star's breath, oxygen from a supernova's core, iron from the ashes of a giant's death. We carry the story of entropy in our bones, in our blood, in the tiny electrical fluctuations that make thought possible. Life, strangely, does not resist entropy. It dances with it. Our cells burn fuel. They take chemical gradients and spend them to move, to grow, to remember. In doing so, we increase disorder in the surroundings. A local pocket of pattern can only persist by exporting entropy elsewhere. You are a tiny, flaring engine of structure, permitted only because you help the universe move toward equilibrium, just as the stars do, just as the wind, the fire, the tide. So in the end, what does this mean? That memory is temporary, that every pattern will dissolve, that even galaxies will fade into dust, but also that light exists at all, that warmth was born from collapse, that complexity was made from simplicity shattered, that stars had to die. You to wonder why stars die. Entropy is not just a falling apart. It is the price of transformation, of breath, of time, of story. So when you look at the stars tonight, know this: they shine not in defiance of the second law, but in allegiance to it. They are the artists of decay, the sculptors of time, and somewhere in their slow and brilliant death, they made you. There is an end that does not roar, does not blaze, does not break. There is an end so soft it feels like forgetting. No bang, no flame, just hush. This is the long goodbye, the quiet exit of everything the universe once was. We call it heat death, but it's not the death of fire alone. It's the death of contrast, of difference, of direction. It is the fading of purpose from particles, the final evening out of everything that was once wild and warm. Let's go back to the very start, not the end, but the beginning. A time when time was young, when space was cramped and crackling, when the universe was hot enough to boil atoms before they even had names. Back then, everything danced, violent, vivid, vibrating, with raw energy. But even then, even in that blazing instant, entropy was watching. The second law of thermodynamics is not a future rule. It has always been present, and it whispered, spread, blur, equalize, soften the sharpness, level the flame. The universe, being young and full of difference, had room to obey. So the energy spread, and as it spread, order dissolved. But in the process, stars were born. Yes, the rise of entropy allowed the rise of wonder, because wherever there are differences between hot and cold, between dense and thin, there is room for work, room for complexity, room for life. The young cosmos spun itself into stars, and stars spun into galaxies. Galaxies collided, and from their dust, planets formed. And on one of those planets, life dreamed. But every dream has a cost. Every heartbeat, every lightning flash, every thought, they burn a little more fuel. They convert usable energy into randomness. Not gone, just spread. More even, more dull. Entropy rises. Always. Stars are temporary. Every single one will run out. They burn because they are not yet in balance. They burn because they are falling toward stillness. And when the last star dies, it won't be dramatic. Some will collapse. Some will drift into cold ash. Some will become black holes, holding tightly to what's left of gravity's grip. And yet, even black holes cannot cheat the final rule. They evaporate slowly. Their edges leak light in the tiniest whispers, hawking radiation. Entropy's signature on the strongest things we know. Give it a trillion years, and black holes will vanish too. What's left? Flat sea of particles, low energy photons, wandering endlessly with no more structure to cling to. No stars, no planets, no motion that matters. A universe at the same temperature everywhere. No gradients, no friction, no flow. It is heat death, and it's not truly cold. It's just done. Nothing left to move, nothing left to build, nothing left to decay. The thermodynamic arrow has run its full length. Time, which was born in change, has nothing left to measure. If nothing changes, then what is time? A watch on a wrist with no ticking clock in a frozen world. Time itself has nowhere to go. And so the cosmos sleeps. But this end is not a villain. It is not a punishment for having existed. It is simply the price of having been alive. Because without entropy, there would be no stars, no oceans, no seasons, no breath. Without energy falling downhill, no work could be done, no thought could fire, no love could bloom. We live in the golden middle, not the beginning, not the end, but in the brief and blazing between. A moment when there is still contrast, still structure, still room for life to rise and fall. So yes, one day, the last ember will cool, the last ripple will settle, the last fluctuation will flatten. But everything before that was built on the possibility of such a fade. And perhaps there's more we don't know. Perhaps this isn't the final. Some theories say new universes could bud off from the still one, or maybe entropy itself will loop, start again, from maximum to minimum in ways we cannot imagine. Maybe a fluctuation will birth a new Big Bang in a pocket of this calm. But even if not, even if this is truly the last breath of everything, it was a breath, well, spent, because in the fire of stars, in the curve of galaxies, in the spark of minds, the universe told its story, and it ends not in tragedy, but in peace. A long sigh, a return to rest. The warmth goes out, not in cruelty, but because it has nowhere else to go. And in that silence, you can still hear the echo of all that came before, not as sound, but as memory etched in the fabric of space. The light that danced, the heat that built, the stars that wept and bloomed, all part of the long journey toward stillness. So if you close your eyes and imagine the last second of the last moment of the last universe, don't fear it, thank it, because without it, nothing else would have ever been. There is a speed that nothing outruns, a boundary not made of walls, but of nature's quiet authority. The speed of light, 299,792,458 meters per second, a number precise, yet full of mystery, a limit, a law, a line the universe does not cross. But why? Why must there be a speed no one can surpass? Why build a cosmos where faster is not allowed? Where no message, no shadow, no thought can move more quickly than light? Tonight, we wonder, and gently we understand. In the early universe, chaos reigned. Everything was packed and pressed, a firestorm without direction. But even there, in that first shimmer, the limit existed. Light was already bound, already held by a truth deeper than time itself. Because if information could move faster, then cause could follow effect. Then tomorrow could shape yesterday, and logic would unravel. The speed of light isn't just a physical cap, it's the line that holds cause and effect in place. Without it, we couldn't know what happened first. We couldn't trust that actions lead to consequences. We couldn't build a world on reason. And so, the limit matters. Now, imagine a particle racing through space, full on, weightless, timeless, dashing across the black sea of the cosmos. To us, it moves at light speed, but to the photon, time does not pass. Its entire journey, no matter how long, is instantaneous. Because at light speed, time stands still. This isn't poetry. This is physics. Light moves in such a way that the clock it carries never ticks. What does that mean for us? It means that light connects moments that feel distant into a single whisper. It means that light is the closest thing we know to touching eternity. But we are not made of light. We live below the limit, always slower, always waiting. And in this slowness, there is meaning, because when things move slower than light, they age, they remember, they feel, they become a story. Light may link places, but we link moments. We build sequences, memories, narratives. A flower blooms because time moves forward. A child learns because cause leads to consequence. And all of that depends on the limit. Without it, there would be no order, just chaos, looped and tangled. This limit shapes space itself. Einstein showed us that time and space are not separate. They are woven into one space-time. And that fabric can be stretched, then warped by mass and motion. The faster you go, the more time slows for you. The heavier you are, the more space curves around you. But no matter how fast you push, you never reach the speed of light. You can only approach it, never touch it. Why? Because the closer you get, the more energy you need. And that energy climbs to infinity. To go light speed, you need infinite fuel. And the universe is not so generous. So we move through time, anchored by this law. Satellite, feel it. Their clocks tick slower than hours on Earth. GPS systems must correct for the time shift because relativity isn't just theory, it's part of our lives. And yet, this isn't a burden, it's a gift, because the limit creates structure. It defines what's possible. It separates the now from the later. It allows us to learn, to wait, to grow. Even our thoughts, electric, chemical, tiny lightning bolts, obey this speed. You are slow compared to light. But because of that, you can remember your childhood. You can hope for tomorrow. A photon doesn't hope. It doesn't wait. It simply goes. Imagine if we could send signals faster than light. Could we call our past? Erase our regrets? The math breaks down. Causality fractures. Faster than light would mean some events happen before their cause. Imagine telling a secret before deciding to speak. Imagine a star exploding because you saw it and not the other way around. This is why the limit is sacred. It isn't a fence. It's a foundation. Yet, even so, we keep trying to stretch toward it. particle accelerators push atoms close to light speed. Their lifetimes lengthen. Their mass grows. And all the while, we learn about quarks, about forces, about what the universe is made up beneath its skin. And in the language of quantum fields, light is more than speed. It is the carrier of information, the keeper of causality. Every photon is a thread sewn into the quilt of reality, and it's not alone. Other particles move slower, but light is always first, always fastest, always on time. So when you look up at the stars, know this: you are not seeing them as they are. You are seeing what they were. Some are dead, some are gone, but their light is still en route, still honoring the limit. Every night sky is a time machine, a map of the past, written at light speed. The stars are stories that took centuries to arrive. And even now, your eyes wait for each photon to make its long and lawful journey across the dark. We live in a universe with rules, but rules are not cages. They are rhythms. They are frames in which beauty can grow. The speed of light is not cruel. It is consistent. It is the reason why time can be trusted, why science can work, why memory means anything at all. So when you ask, why does the limit matter? Remember this: without it, there is no time, no sequence, no song, no becoming, only noise. But with it, we get a universe that breathes, a place where we move slowly enough to love, to change, to become ourselves. All because we can't outrun the light. Thank you for wandering with me beneath the stars tonight. If this story of light and limits, of time and tenderness, left a thought glowing quietly in the corners of your mind, then the journey was worth it. You are part of this great unfolding, a thread in the vast tapestry woven by laws, but alive with wonder. If you'd like to keep dreaming with the universe, you can gently tap subscribe and let curiosity tuck you in again next time. Until then, sleep soft, drift slow, and never stop asking why. This has been the Dreamy Physicist. Good night.